All of you, good afternoon. So yesterday we covered one important question. So you know very well, that is what mass energy equation. Now here today we are going to see one important question, that is what here Michelson Morley experiment. Michelson-Morley experiment. Okay, you must remember this one. So it's one of the important questions from this chapter. So very important question. So let us see few things in this chapter. Here some assumptions are made. The space is filled with a substance called as ether. Few assumptions here. Space, remember always, space is filled with something new medium, that is called a substance. Space is filled with a substance called as ether. Ether, remember, new concept, ether. Okay, now the second important point is ether was supposed to be invisible. It was invisible, massless, perfectly transparent, and perfectly non-resistive, perfectly transparent, perfectly non-resistive, having high elasticity, and low density. These are the properties of ether. What are they? Invisible, massless, perfectly transparent, perfectly non-resistive, having high elasticity and a low density. Okay. So now the Lorentz maintained the stationary ether concept here. Here ether is stationary. Now it was further supposed that Earth moves through it without producing any disturbance. See, when the Earth is moving in the ether, in this medium, it gets no disturbance. So if the ether hypothesis is correct, then it is possible to determine the absolute velocity of the Earth with respect to other frame. See there. If the ether having these properties, when the Earth is moving through this ether medium substance, so there is no disturbance takes place, the motion of the Earth. then it is easy to calculate absolute velocity of the earth with respect to the inertial reference frames. So till now we know that it is impossible to find out the absolute velocity of the object with respect to the inertial reference frame. That means with respect to other frames. So here Michelson-Morley carried out an experiment using Michelson interferometer for this purpose. Here Michelson-Morley did one experiment, and the name of that experiment machine can be interferometer. Michelson interferometer. Michelson interferometer. So using this interferometer, let us see what we are going to do. Okay, let us see what is interferometer here. Right, see there. So this is what Michelson-Morley interferometer. Right. See what I am taking here. I am taking source. Here I am taking source. Now the rays of source are passing through. They are being rendered parallel by the collimated lens L. Here we can use collimated lens L. That means from this lens we can get a parallel pencil beam. Okay, parallel pencil beam. These parallel light rays used to pass towards the mirror M, partially coated mirror, where we can use half silvered glass plate. Here we can also call half silvered glass plate. That is represented by capital M, of silvered glass plate. Okay, so when the rays falls on the half silvered glass plate M, which is fixed at 45 degrees angle, the ray is splitted into two parts. See here, when this ray incident at a point G on the mirror M, this ray is splitted into two parts. One is reflected ray, another one is transmitted ray. That means this is what transmitted ray and this is what reflected ray. And this transmitted ray passing through the mirror and used to fall normally on the mirror M2 at point A. Then immediately reflected back to mirror M. Immediately it again reaches, after reflection it again reaches mirror M. Okay. Similarly, reflected ray, this ray can falls, that is what perpendicular ray, which is perpendicular to the incident light. This ray falls on the mirror M1 at point B and also which is reflected back to the mirror M. And both rays which are coming from M1 and M2 meet at a point G, and these two rays forms interference pattern. This was observed by the telescope. The interference pattern of two rays observed by the telescope T. So at this point, okay. Now this is one thing. See, one more thing you have to remember, that the distance from G to M2, and G to M1 should be equal in this case. So in this case, the distance from G to M2 the distance from otherwise mirror M to M2 and from M to M1 both should be equal. See there, here to here is D and here to here is D. Now the thing is this is the important thing. Now the thing is, when this interferometer is on the earth, right? When this interferometer is on the earth and earth is moving with the velocity v, the velocity of earth is v, when this interferometer is on the earth, its velocity has become v. Understand? Now this whole apparatus is passing through the ether. This whole apparatus passing through the substance ether. Now when it is passing through the ether, so just before the case here, the time taken by the rays from M2 to M and M1 to M both are same. Here rays moving from M2 and M2 to back to M. So it takes some time. This is also equal for this case, normal case also. So because the distance of these two mirrors and these two mirrors are same, right? But the now case is what? Here interferometer is on the earth. It is moving with the velocity v in the ether. So at the time what happened? These rays may not incident points at A and B. It may be incident after reflected and after transmitted. It may incident on different points. Understand? So that points can be like this. For our reference, you have to take here B and this is what A. Okay, because M1 and M2. Here we'll take when the interferometer having velocity v, so in that case I am taking two other points A dash and B dash. When the ray is reflected, that reflected ray may incident on point A dash. On point A dash. Okay. And again transmitted ray may incident at point B dash here. Here you have to take like this, B dash. Okay. Now, when the ray is reflected and falls on the point at A1, A dash, and which is again reflected, that reflected ray may travel towards the mirror, that is at 45 degrees angle, that is represented by M dash. May travel here only. Here. Understand? See, this M and M dash both frames are same. Here A and A dash, B dash are same points. But what happened? Now when the interferometer is moving in the ether, in that case whose positions are changed. So here reflected ray may reaches M dash. Here you have to take G dash. Okay, G dash point. Understand? Now the transmitted ray may travel not B at B dash, up to B dash. Understand? When it is moving in the ether. So in that case, we are going to find out two important things. See there, here one important thing is, let two mirrors M1 and M2 be at an equal distance D from the glass plate G. Okay, here to here is D. Further, let C and B be the velocities of light and apparatus or earth respectively. C, where the C is the velocity of light. Velocity of light. Okay, now the V is velocity of interferometer or operators or earth respectively, Okay. Now from the figure it is obvious that the reflected ray 1 from glass plate G strikes at M1 here at A dash, M1 both are same at A dash and not at A due to the motion of earth. Understand this one. Okay. Here reflected ray, when the apparatus is in motion, the ray is incident at point A1. This one also mirror can be M1. This one also represented M2 mirror. So incident at point A1, not at A. Okay. The total path of the ray from G to A dash. The total path of this ray from G to A dash and back will be G A dash G dash. So from triangle, see there, the distance travelled by the ray 1, reflected ray. See there, the distance travelled by the reflected ray. The distance travelled by the reflected ray is from figure triangle G A dash. Here you have to take, in the middle you have to take capital D. Understand, capital D. G A dash D can be, see there, you know that law of triangle. Here you can write G A dash whole square. This is what hypotenuse. G A dash whole square is equal to opposite sign. So here you have to write, here you have to take angle theta. Then here G, here it is what A. Here GD equal to GD. Here you have to write GD equal to A dash. Therefore G A dash square equal to, we have to write there GD square plus A dash D square. Okay, A dash D square. And we know that what is A dash D? This distance is equal to D. Understand, this A dash D is equal to D. So finally we will get G A dash square. G A dash square means G A dash square, distance travelled by the light. See there, where G A dash means what? G A dash means G A dash, the distance travelled by the light. We know that time t and we know that the velocity of light. Then we'll write finally G A dash, distance is equal to velocity into time. Then we'll write CT square. We'll write CT square equal to GD square. GD is nothing but what? A dash. GD is nothing but A dash. A dash means distance. How can we find distance? Where A dash is travelling with velocity V. Therefore, we know the time and we know the velocity. Then GD is equal to VT, velocity into time square, plus A dash D means what? A dash D here to here distance. A dash D, that is equal to D. We'll get D square. From this one we'll get T equal to, from this equation we'll get T equal to D by under root C square minus V square. Okay, so this is time taken by the ray to move from G to A dash. Okay, time taken by the ray to move from G to A dash, G to here to here, G to A dash. So time taken by the ray which is moving from G to A dash is how much? T equal to D by under root C square minus V square, under root C square minus V square. This is what? C square minus V square. Understand? Now here the case is, if T1 be the time taken by the ray, travel the whole path G A dash G dash. See, we got only here to here. We got time to travel the light ray from G to A dash is how much? T equal to D by under root C square minus V square. Now we have to find out time taken by the ray which is traveling from G A dash and A dash G dash. So that means what? G A dash G dash. So we have to find out time taken by the light ray which is traveling from G to G dash through A dash point. That means G A dash G dash. So that is what we can write. T1 equal to 2D by under root C square minus V square. So here we'll write T1 is equal to 2D by under root C square minus V square. Okay, right. See, here we have to remember that this is the case where the interferometer is moving with velocity v. Understand? So in that case, T1 is equal to 2D by C square minus V square. Where what is T1 here? So time taken by the light traveling from G A dash G dash, traveling the path G A dash G dash is how much? T1 is equal to 2D by under root C square minus V square. Okay, you have to remember this one. Next, this can also be written as where? This can also be written as, here you have to take C square common, then we'll get to 2D by C, right? We got there T1 equal to, we got there T1 equal to 2D by under root C square minus V square, right? So take C square common, we'll get T1 is equal 2D by C into 1 by 1 minus V square by C square whole to the power of 1 by 2. This can also be written as 2D by C, and this can be written 1 minus V square by C square whole to the power of minus 1 by 2. Okay, now by expanding this function, we'll get 2D by C and 1 plus 1 by 2 V square by C square, and the remaining term, higher order terms are negligible, then we'll get this one. So assume this is equation number 1, let us assume. Okay, equation number 1. Now the second case. This is up to here first case where T1, time taken by the reflected ray to travel from G to A dash and A dash to G dash. Okay, that is how much? T1 is equal to 2D by C, 1 here like this. Here it is what? G, A dash, G dash. So the total time of the ray moving from G to A dash and A dash to G dash is how much? T1 is equal to 2D by C into 1 plus of V square by C square. Now the second case is what? Transmitted ray. For transmitted ray. See from the picture here, it's a very simple thing is time taken by transmitted light from M to M1 is time taken by transmitted light from M to M1. M to M1 is how much here? We know that that can be written as T2 dash equal to distance. We know that how much distance? That is what? D distance from G to M is D, and D by the velocity. See there where the apparatus is moving with velocity v in the direction of light ray. Therefore, then the resultant velocity, if the both are moving along the same direction, then the resultant velocity is how much? C minus V. Okay, c minus v. Now time taken by the transmitted light from to reach m from m1. Here time taken by reflected ray, sorry, here it is time taken by the light, again reflected, here you have to write reflected ray to reach m from m1. This is what m to m1, this is what m from m1. So in that case we'll write T2 double dash is equal to d by, see here the reflected ray is moving against the light ray, therefore velocity is added there. T2 double dash is equal to d by c plus v. Then the resultant time can be written as T2 equal to T1 dash plus T2 double dash, that equal to what we get there finally, d by c minus v plus d by c plus v, and finally we'll get d by here it is what 2d by, here we'll get 2dc by c square minus v square, right? 2dc by c square minus v square. So from this one we'll get there T2 equal to and so we'll get 2d by c and by 1 minus v square by c square, 1 minus v square by c square, and finally we'll write this one also, T2 equal to 2d by c into 1 minus v square by c square into minus 1, and let us expand this one, let us expand this function, and finally we'll get there T2 equal to 2d by c into 1 plus v square by c square, and higher order terms goes to 0. This is what 2. And now the resultant time difference. Now the difference in times of travel, longitudinal and transverse journeys. So here finally we'll write time difference can be what? Time difference equal to delta t equal to T2 minus T1, and delta t equal to, we know that 2d by c and 1 plus v square by c square minus T1 value. So what is that T1 value here? 2d by c into 1 plus 1 by 2 v square by c square, right? This is what 2d. And finally delta t equal to what we get there. So after subtracting this one we'll get here 2d by c into v square by 2c square, and finally we have dv square by c cube, So this is what the time difference between the two rays. One is traveling along the light ray direction, one is moving in the transverse direction. Now the time difference between the two rays can be delta t equal to dv square by c cube. Okay, now optical path difference between the two rays is important thing, optical path difference between these two rays can be written as velocity into difference of time. That is what light velocity into difference of time. So light velocity c into delta t. So this can be written as c into delta t means dv square by c cube, and dv square by c square will get there. Optical path difference. See, this is what optical path difference, dv square by c square. Okay, this is what optical path difference. Optical path difference is how much there? So here it is optical path difference delta equal to dv square by c square. Okay, you have to remember. If light wavelength is lambda, you have to remember these few points. If light wavelength is lambda, then the path difference give the displacement of fringes. In this case, the fringe shift is equal to, so in this case, the fringe shift is equal to d v square by lambda c square. Okay, fringe shift. So fringe shift is equal to dv. If the light having the wavelength lambda, in this case, fringe shift can be written as dv square by lambda c square. Now, this is one point. Now, the case is when apparatus is rotated to 90 degrees. When the apparatus, we know that interferometer is rotated with the 90 degrees. Hence, the mirror and M1, M2, here hence the mirror and M1, M2 exchange their positions, right? It means initially if ray travels lesser distance, by rotating, it travels longer distance. See there, it means that if you rotate the apparatus with a 90 degrees angle and where the M1 M2 positions are exchanged. In that case, initially if ray travels lesser distance, by rotating this apparatus it may travel longer distance and the path difference become negative. By rotating the apparatus, the resultant path difference results a fringe shift to become equal to, here fringe shift equal, here fringe shift is n. After rotating 90 degrees, the fringe shift is become like this. See there, n equal to 2l v square, 2d v square, n equal to 2d v square by lambda c square. So if you substitute the values where, for example, if you substitute the values d equal to 1 into 10 to the power of 3 centimeters, if you substitute d equal to, and also lambda equal to, we'll write 5 into 10 to the power of minus 5 centimeters, and we know that light velocity is c equal to 3 into 10 to the power of 8 meter per second or 10 to the power of 10 centimeter per second. Okay, and we know that here velocity of the object can be written as 3 into 10 to the power of 6 centimeter per second. If you substitute all these things here, then the fringe width will become n equal to 0.4 fringe. N equal to 0.4 value. The fringe shift value is how much? N equal to 0.4 fringes. But you know that here, thus the shift of less than half a fringe was only expected. Michelson-Morley could observe a shift of about 0.01 of fringe. See there, experimentally we got there n equals 0.4 based on this formula. Okay, Michelson interferometer can detect even 0.01 fringe shift. Here operators can detect 0.01 fringe shift. Okay, performing experiment throughout the year at a different time, scientists are not able to detect 0.4 fringe shift. So this is known as null result. Okay, see there, they found that Michelson interferometer can detect 0.01 fringe shift. Okay, but they are unable to detect this value. They did this experiment throughout the year, but they failed. Therefore, they got null result. This is known as null result. Null result. Okay, null result. See, here you have to put it in your mind. To explain null result, it was assumed that the objects moving in ether, drag ether along with them. In this situation, there wouldn't be any relative motion between the earth and the ether. There is no relative motion between the earth and ether because both are moving. Both are here ether or drag ether along with them. Hence, there could not be any fringe shift at all. Experimentally it was proved that there is a ether drag, then we cannot explain light aberration. Therefore ether drag theory was not correct. So Lorentz and remaining scientists did many experiments to prove that ether was stationary. Even then these experiments did not give desired results. Therefore in this situation Einstein put forward a new idea that objects don't move in ether and proposed special theory of relativity. Objects don't move in ether and proposed special theory of relativity. From this it was proved that fundamental physical quantities, already we know that already have seen completely what is Einstein's special theory of relativity and their relevant equations, energy mass equation, all are we found, where we proved that mass is variable. We got their m equal to m naught under root 1 minus v square by c square, right? Length contraction, time dilation, this all are we found already. So before these topics this Michelson-Morley experiment did, but it is failure theory. According to Einstein's special theory of relativity, where we found that physical quantities like mass and we know that mass, length and time, these three quantities are relative. So this theory is known as Einstein's special theory of relativity. We found all these three things. We know that m can be written as m naught by under root 1 minus v square by c square, and t can be time dilation, t equal to t naught by under root 1 minus v square by c square, and where L can be written as L equal to L naught into under root 1 minus v square by c square. This is what length contraction, this is what time dilation, this is what variation of mass with velocity, relativistic mass. So these three equations said that mass, time and length are relative. They are variables. Right? They are changing with the velocity. When the velocity of the object is comparable with the light velocity, then we can use all these formulas. Understand? So this is what we discussed in the special theory of relativity, and there exist 2 or 3 important long questions. You know that the Lorentz transformations, time dilation, length contraction, that is one of the important question, and one more question is what Michelson-Morley experiment, and a few other remaining things. Einstein's mass energy relation is there, and one more relation we have to derive, that is what relation between the energy and momentum. So in the next class we are going to derive that equation. Okay, thank you.